Yeah, so I would just say, don't be afraid to pay your dues. However, you must pay them because for every person, it's different. For me, it was free labor.
I'm Dana White, founder and host of One Real Story, the podcast and book series where we provide entrepreneurs with practical advice through the voices of successful entrepreneurs. If you're a veteran, aspiring, or an established entrepreneur, this show is for you. As always, I'm coming to you live from the Voice Hub production studio in India, Atlantic, Florida. Our special guest today is an Army veteran, co-founder of Lending Experts, and the owner of We Save Loans. She is a mother, sister, aunt, daughter, cousin, and everything else. She's an entrepreneur by birth, and she owns and operates the only minority and woman and veteran-owned mortgage company in St. Lucie County called We Save Loans. It's located in Port St. Lucie, Florida. She is nationally recognized keynote speaker with speaking engagements at AIM Fuse, which was televised, Women's Mortgage Network, and the Realtors Association for Young Professionals Network. Her love for the minority community is rooted in her own experience of being a first-generation immigrant and growing up in a predominantly migrant worker community of Blacks and Hispanics. Yeah. She is known to have a big heart, an incredible business savvy, and drive. My friend, Isabel Williams. How you doing, Is?
Thank you, Dane.
I'm going to call you Izzy.
That's
as much as I know you.
As long as you just call me.
Awesome. Appreciate it. So I'm glad to have you here today. Thanks for your time. I know you're a real busy person.
I appreciate you having me.
So we're just going to, like always, I kind of jump right into it, right, for our listeners.
Awesome.
If you can, you're the owner of We Save Loans. Can you explain what do you do for your business?
Let's see. So the basics is we literally help people finance home purchases, right? That's what mortgages are. But I think that we are a little different for the fact that, as you stated, we're a minority-owned business, but not just owned, but operated. So it allows us to be able to relate to our community and some of the struggles that they face when they're trying to buy a property. So.
Okay. So that's pretty good. So all of the backdoor strategies and helping, I guess, home ownership become a reality.
Yes. So things that we commonly struggle with: credit, savings, having enough income to buy your own house, like things that seem a little overwhelming. We really help kind of break that down into a digestible plan of action. So like, we get all the time, my friend told me to give you a call because she said you helped her. And so that's really kind of what spurred the growth in our business, is really just kind of helping people through the process, especially when trying to buy a house. It's really scary, because
absolutely.
None of us want to be rejected. So a lot of times we won't even ask.
True.
Yeah.
True. You hit on a great point there. And I'll get into more of that as we go, because I have a few more questions. But I want to talk about your military background. Like, how long were you in the military? What did you do? And then what were some of the skills that you learned?
So I think like a lot of the people that joined the military, I went in when I was really young because I felt like I didn't have any options. What was I going to do? Go to college? My mom didn't have any money. And I knew I wanted to further my education because my thought back then was that if I had an education, I could get a little bit further than Indiantown. And if anybody's ever been to Indiantown, there's nothing out there. I mean, we have one traffic light.
You blink and you're done.
You're out of there. So it's a real small community with very limited opportunities. And I couldn't afford to go to college. I decided to join the military instead. And so during that process, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, right? You see the commercials. I thought I was going to be jumping out of planes. I was going to be badass.
Isn't there a height requirement for jumping out of planes?
Hush your mouth. So, but you go into it with this illusion of what you're going to be I guess, confronted with, like what my expectations were set on based on commercials that I'd seen, and of course recruiters. So I really didn't know too much about it. So me and the military had a love-hate relationship. You know, I went into it really young. I was there for a couple years. It didn't really last the first time because I did it more than once. I'm a real slow learner. So I would say like the first time that I was in, it was the first time I'd ever been exposed to just different people and experiences. You know, like I said, I grew up in a real small community. Yeah. You knew everybody.
I grew up there too for a short period of time.
Yeah. So you
Martin County.
Exactly. So you know everyone knows you, and so nothing is outside the norm, or at least you're normal, right? So you have your experiences are just really limited by the group of people that you know. And then going into the military, you get exposed to different people with different backgrounds, from different just walks of life. And I'm like, we still have real Indians, you know. Actually, it was the first time I actually met a native Indian, you know. So I thought that was real cool. Yeah, I was like, your last name is Wolf, like for real, like Wolf Wolf. So I thought that was interesting. I think that I learned that there was just this bigger world than the one that I had been existing in. So that was like the first exposure that I really had outside of my little box, and also pushing myself. Like when you grow up rough, it kind of just becomes like normal day-to-day life.
Yes.
You just kind of are in survival mode the whole time.
Yep.
I don't know that we really push ourselves, right? I think we're just overcoming our current situation. But with the military, it was like I had to become faster. I had to become stronger because other people were depending on me.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? They put you into these little pods.
Yeah.
And then you have your group. And if you underperform, it's not just affecting you, it's affecting the person next to you, right? So it was different.
Remember those days.
Yeah, it was different. But yeah, so the first time was like, you know, and I ended up taking a break, got out, and I went back to the civilian sector of the world. And it's interesting that when you come back out, you know, you're expected to know what to do, and you really don't. You know, I was a child. I might have been 21 at the time. I don't remember anymore.
Still a baby.
It's still a baby.
Yeah. You think you know it all.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to tell me nothing.
At every point, at every milestone.
So I just remember getting out, having, again, these preset expectations of what my life was supposed to look like, you know, and that doesn't come to fruition. You know, we struggled, had one car, I was walking to work. It wasn't easy, or wasn't easier.
Yeah.
And I think that I kind of decided to go back into the military because there was a little bit of a safety net there. You know, at least I would have a check every 2 weeks, on the
Definitely
first and 15th, right?
One.
Guarantee pay.
From Uncle Sam.
My housing would be secured. If I ran out of food, I could go to, the mess hall and eat. So there was some security being in the military, so I decided to go back in because at least I knew that, right? I knew that, and it was going to be consistent for me. But I realized the second time that I went in that I didn't really want consistency as much as I thought I did. I just needed direction.
Right.
I think the first time I got out, I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know who I wanted to be. So I felt a lot of turmoil. And I think that was what created that restlessness, I think, or a little bit lack of direction is really what it was. I didn't know what I wanted. Yeah. I just wanted to feel safe, So I think that the military really taught me to push myself, to be uncomfortable, and to know that it's going to be okay on the other side of that.
The military has a funny way of making you adopt those things, right?
Yeah.
Because I know as a young person, as a kid, I was a little hard-headed, So I didn't like being told what to do. So that was one of the main reasons why I didn't join I joined the military later, but I didn't join as early as I wanted to.
Because you thought you knew everything.
I didn't want to be told what to do. So But you brought up a great point, right? So as you're working, you from your upbringing, right? Poverty and those types of things, we are taught to work hard, to grind, to change your situation, right? But when you become an entrepreneur, those same habits, I've come to realize that it's a difference in just working hard and in working smart.
Yeah, agreed. Like I said, we're built for the struggle.
Yeah,
we're built for the struggle. We know how to struggle. You don't have to teach me how to do that. I've been doing it my whole life. I know how to make ends meet. I know how to just get by. I know how to survive.
Yeah.
Right? So I stay in the survival mode the whole time. What I don't know is how to expand. I don't know how to grow. I don't know how to take this hustle and make it something more than just making ends meet. That, I think, comes with exposure to other people, exposure to other situations, exposure to other experiences. Because I can be great at surviving, but if no one ever shows me how to thrive and grow, I remain where I am. And that was what has shifted for me. Like, I knew how to get by.
Yeah.
I was going to go hungry.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
My lights were going to be on. I would figure out a way to make that happen. What I never was able to do is, how do I take that and put it into thriving? How do I go from surviving into thriving?
Yeah.
That came, later on in my life when I had a little bit more exposure to different people.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. That's pretty awesome. So do you think that it came from your heritage? What is your heritage? Yeah. And when did you come to the US?
So, we talked about, loving my community.
Yes.
I was born in Guatemala. Mm-hmm. My mother transitioned to the United States back in 1981. So I was about a year old. And she left because they were having a civil war, and instead of her risking herself and her children, she decided, I'm just going to leave. So she brought myself and my sister here, and she did what she knew in order to make sure that her children survived.
Yeah. And
that was everything. My mother cooked, cleaned, anything people would pay for, she did. Mom.
Hence the reason why you know how to be successful.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, I knew how to survive.
Survive, right.
So what my mother taught me was how to survive. She was a hustler.
Yeah.
My mother would never let us go hungry. My mother never really got to the point of thriving. My mom would just make things happen. Her kids were good. We'd always have, she tells me all the time, I made sure y'all had a roof over your head, somewhere to sleep, food in your belly, and clothes on your back.
She carried the torch for y'all.
Yeah.
To a certain point.
Exactly. So, she sent us to school because she felt like had she'd had an education, she would have been in a different place. And I'm sure, because my mother can't read or write. My mother's illiterate. She cannot read or write. Plus, she's in a country where she doesn't speak the language. Yeah. But yet she successfully raised 4 kids. So what I learned from my mom was that there was really no excuse to fail. And failure for her was letting her children go hungry. So I think that failure kind of changes for each one of us. And so failure for me has been not being successful. I kind of feel like if I fail, I've kind of spit in the face of my mother's sacrifices.
I agree.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. So I kind of, that becomes a driver. And it is a driver. It's one of the big drivers, because I just remember how hard it was for her. So I kind of feel like everything that I do is an homage to my mom. I respect, I understand, and I appreciate.
Right.
And so it actually drives everything.
That's, you going into these deeper points. I'll just add to that. The whole mom thing, my mom was a single parent, and
mine too.
I'm the only child. I found out I had four other brothers and sisters about 10 years ago, from my dad's side. But some learning from her mistakes, as in, how we grow up in poverty. Some people don't change the way they're thinking, but you don't judge them for it, but yet you accept them for it, and they're still your friend, right? Yeah. But sometimes as you are achieving different levels of success, you have to watch the company you keep.
So I think, again, that kind of rolls back to what we're exposed to, right? If I had not left Indiantown when I was young, and I had not been immediately exposed to a different way of thinking and being, I would have been the same person that I was. I don't think I would have changed.
Right.
Because what would have encouraged my growth? Nothing. It's like literally you're the seed planted on the side of the road. No one is watering you or taking care of you. You're just there. But imagine what happens if they take that and put it in good soil. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you become a tree, right?
It's easy, right?
You give fruit. So I think that what happens is it's we're sometimes blessed and fortunate based on the situations that we're put through to gain more wisdom and experience. And that's all that happened. I moved from my comfort zone, everything that I had known, my mother, my brother, my sister, this family entity, and I left it.
Right.
I was there by myself. You don't know anybody, and you're forced to grow because there's nothing else. If you don't, you die. Right. So that was really what it is. Like, I realized that a lot of the friends that I had when I was younger, I loved them, but we just took two different paths. Some of us stayed in the same place. Other of us left, and that's what happened to me. I left.
So that was one of the things that I've learned too, right? Because you can't let your mom down. I mean, she spent a lot of time making sacrifices to get you to where, father too, right? Because we don't want to forget, like, I just didn't have a father that was present. So
mine died.
Right. So I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. But, but I just don't want to negate that, because everyone's situation is different, right?
And dads are cool.
And I'm a dad. Yeah, so look, I don't want to be forgotten either, right? I inspire my kids. But that's one of the things that I did learn is you don't let them down, because it's just about passing the torch. So now it's like, what can we do to work hard for my kids and for all of my friends and family in order to pass the torch to them, set them on the right path, because we haven't been fortunate in our lineage, right? So it's more about, because some other families are, it's family traditions. So if you're born in a good soil, right, let them be the one to take it to the next level.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I agree on that. I kind of think that, like I said, talking about our parents, like, I didn't appreciate my mom until I was a mother. Mm-hmm. Me and my mother hated each other. Like, I couldn't stand my mother. Okay. Like, when I was younger, we used to fight all the time. I used to feel like she was controlling and trying to hold me back. And
they say that, you're pretty much alike then,
huh? My mom's a twin.
You're a mirror. Yeah, exactly. You're twin.
So, like, I didn't realize how much like her I was. I didn't want to be like my mom. I didn't appreciate my mother. I loathed her almost. I remember being young and being like, I wish this woman just keel over and die so she could let me live. Yeah. Like, it was this place of anger and resentment. But you're young, you don't understand what you're feeling. And now, being a mother, I realized that she was controlling because she didn't want me to be hurt.
Right. She's protecting.
She was protecting me. And everything that she did came from a place of love. Whereas you couldn't have told me that when I was a teenager. My mom don't love me.
Right.
That woman hates me. That woman doesn't love me. Like, so it's this impression, because it's our experience. I was experiencing at that time a lack of love. I just didn't know where it was coming from. And of course, the easiest thing to project onto was the person that loved me the most. Absolutely. So I projected this onto my mother. And of course, it just created this really bad experience. But once I became a mother and I had the opportunity to feel what she felt, I appreciated her in a different light. I love you. I was
about to say, hopefully she's listening. She will be listening after this show.
Yeah.
So, you've gone through many challenges, right? But as a successful entrepreneur, what has been some of your biggest challenges, though?
Oh my God, myself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of self-doubt. I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I didn't feel like I had the degrees to be successful. I felt, because I've succeeded and failed. The first time I ever got into the mortgage business, it was good. It was good. I had a successful business. I was making money. I was 25 the first time I made like $250,000, right? Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing with that money. And so you come into the success, but even that success, you look at it and almost, I think it's kind of like any relationship. You feel like you're not worthy of it.
Yeah.
You doubt that it's going to last, that it's too good to be true. And I always felt like there was something better. I never really appreciated my level of success because I didn't see it as such. Mm-hmm. I kind of like, okay, well, this is good, but can it be better than this? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't thrive or want to grow or reach for another level of success. I think that sometimes we just have to actually sit back and appreciate where we've come from so that you can appreciate that moment.
Yes.
And so for me, it was really, I got to this place and I remember, now that I look at it, I was self-sabotaging. So I teamed up with a college-educated woman. Mm-hmm. And I felt that once I got her on my team, that this was going to take me to another level of success. But it actually imploded my business, right? Because I myself didn't value what I brought to the table.
Right.
I didn't see my own worth in this partnership.
Okay.
Right? I put all my eggs in her basket. And it wasn't her fault. It was mine.
Yeah.
Right? It just happened that she was present during this process that I had to go through.
Right.
Now, you can't tell me nothing. I feel like I'm the best thing since sliced bread. But it's because I've grown in my own self-worth. I know now that my education has no bearing on the level of success that I'm going to have or failure, right? It's just my decisions.
But, you saying that having a college degree, it's more about educating yourself along the way, right? And what you're wanting to do, not necessarily let me say this. It's not that you're opposed to school and education, because you need to get,
if I'm keeping it real.
Well, I want you to keep it real, but at the same time,
I'm not saying college is
you still
bad.
are a student.
I'm not saying that college or education itself is bad, but I think the institution of education isn't really what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So I self-educate all the time.
And that's where I was getting at.
Yeah, I'm constantly mastering my craft.
There you go.
I invest in educating myself. I go to experts. I take their training. I've got a coach. So, I don't believe that education is a bad thing. What it was for me was that I felt like that certificate.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
Was the end all be all. Mm-hmm. If I had a master's degree in finance, you couldn't stop me. This was the thought process at 25.
Right.
Now I'm like, put your degree up against my experience and let's see who does well. Right. So for me, it's no longer a hindrance, because back then it was. Had I gone to college, I would have been more successful, was the thought process. Mm-hmm. Whereas now I realize that my experience is what will dictate whether I make it or not.
Yeah. So let me clear that one up.
Yeah.
You kind of taking this a little bit in a sidestep for a second, but I agree with you. However, I'm kind of torn, right?
Yeah.
But because you're trying to figure out yourself at a young age, and we are taught to go to school, get these student loans, and then when you're done, you owe just as much as you're probably gonna be worth, and not even worth at that particular time. So you still have decades of payback time unless you're financially savvy, right?
Yeah.
And you went to school to get ahead. Mm-hmm. So I think that getting an education is definitely important, because if you're young and you're trying to figure out yourself, if you come from a place that I took school in college, I racked up student loans, right? But when I did go to school, I went to school because I expanded on it because I wanted to learn more, make myself more well-rounded, you know, and be able to have normal conversation in a business environment. That's what I felt. That's the way I convinced myself. But I think if you want to go the entrepreneur route and you're trying to bypass school, you still can't forget to educate yourself, master your craft. You're going to have to learn, right? But at the same time, be willing to stay the course, because as soon as you want to pop smoke and you want to hit the parachute, jump out of the plane because you think it's going down, that means you have to go find a job and work in a normal workforce. And if you don't have that education, sometimes that could be a hindrance.
So I'm more driven by like, so I talk to young people all the time, actually. This is a conversation I have. So I say you have to pay to play. And what I mean by that is you've got to put some work in. You're not going to start off at the top. You're not going to come in here and be the boss and you don't know what the heck you're doing. Yes. You know, I'll use my niece as a great example. She's young. She's 24, 25. And we always talk about developing oneself. You know, you have to surround yourself with other people that are doing what you want to do. You can't go home and sit in front of the TV and expect to be successful tomorrow. Like if I want to learn something, whatever it is that I'm passionate about, now you don't have to go to college. Shit's on YouTube.
True. YouTube University.
Yes. Like that's
YouTube.
Like really, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like anything I want to know, if I have a cell phone, I'm Googling it. It's there. The information is literally right there. It's viable. It's accessible. And I think that's what's leveling the playing field right now. Before, if you didn't have money, the only way to access that education was to go to college. Now I don't have to have money. I have the access without the cost. So whatever I want to learn, look it up. Go volunteer. Work for somebody for free.
Yeah.
Get your knowledge. It's just like going to college, but you're getting it hands-on. So I'd rather take someone that has field experience always over somebody that's got the book knowledge, because the practice and implementation is always different than the rules and the regulations.
Yeah. So are those some of the tips and strategies that you would give, you know, to an aspiring entrepreneur?
Yeah. I mean, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to work for free.
Yes.
Because that's what it is. If you're really trying to be a true entrepreneur, a lot of times you're not going to get paid.
Yes.
Like I actually, when I got back into the mortgage business after the second time being in the military, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Still a little confused. I just turned 30. So I get back out. I'm telling everybody my woes. I even went back to college for a little bit because I was like, okay, well, maybe I just need to go back and get a degree. Yeah. And I sat there for a semester. I felt like I wasted my life away during that little period. And I was like, okay, so I know for a fact college is not for me. Not that college isn't for everybody. It just wasn't for me. Because I didn't know what I wanted. Like I was going to college for what? I didn't even know what I wanted to do. So I ended up talking to a friend of mine. And she was like, hey, just get into real estate. It's real easy. She lied. But I appreciate that she encouraged me and that she didn't see me as a threat, right? So a lot of times we won't even give another person access to an opportunity because we're so short-sighted, right? Or, poverty-driven is really what it is. Where, we kind of feel like, if he get a piece of pie, it's going to be less pie for me. That's deep. So she ended up giving me this encouragement that I needed that moment. I get into real estate, get my license, and I work for free because real estate is you eat what you kill. I wasn't killing nothing because I was resting on, I don't know, I guess the fact that I had a little bit of money put away, that it was going to be okay. I was living in my sister's house at the time. She wasn't charging me any rent. So I didn't have any pressure to perform. And I just kind of skimmed by. I didn't really push myself until outside pressure came. I ran out of money. I'm sure my sister was getting ready to kick me out. How you sleeping in my house when I got to go to work? I don't think so. So it kind of, I even felt embarrassed, living with her. She never pressured me, but I felt ashamed.
Right.
That I was still at home while she was at work, But
I think that makes you a special person.
Yeah.
I think that makes you a special person. Because, I was on my own at 18, and before I actually had my own apartment a few months later, I had to go live with my uncle. Well, I happened to lose my job because they wanted me to work full time at a drafting firm and versus going to school. And basically, he never knew I got laid off. So I showed up and left the house every morning like I had a job. But I was out there looking for a job. So I think those are some of the fundamentals like you have that kind of translate into some of your success today too.
Yeah. I would definitely say, like, you can't, just because it looks bad doesn't mean that that's the permanent outcome. It just looks bad in that moment. And I think we struggle with that sometimes because it feels so final. When you're struggling, you can't see past the struggle. It's like, I'm stuck. What am I going to do? What else is after this? And I just remember kind of letting myself linger there for a while until all my money ran out. But I'm glad it did. Yeah. Because in that moment, I found myself in a really rough spot. I remember calling my son's father at the time and literally asking him, "Hey, can I get some gas money?" And he's a good, oh my God, I love him. He's such a good person. But he says to me, "What happened to your money?" Which is a good question, right? Yeah. But because I'm in my feelings, I was like, you know what? Keep your $30. I'm never going to ask you for anything again. But it was because I felt bad about the situation I put myself in. And like I said, again, just projecting onto somebody else, in that moment, I was so angry with the situation that I felt offended.
Yeah.
How dare you ask me? You're supposed to just help. You know, and so it's this expectation that somebody was going to come rescue me. And I don't know, I just kind of had this moment where I was like, you got to help yourself.
Yeah.
There is no Superman.
Yeah.
There's only you. And so that pressure caused me to do a lot of things that I don't think I would have done. # work for free. Because I needed to learn the business that I was in. So I became an assistant for somebody, doing all of their legwork.
Yeah, and got to pay your dues.
Exactly was what it was.
If you want it, you got to pay your dues. Be a student.
Yes, and I went to work for one of the top teams. I saw that these people were just human, just like me. They had problems just like I did, but they hustled.
Yeah.
They worked hard. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Because it became more real. So, from there on, you can tell me anything.
Nice.
Yeah, so I would just say, don't be afraid to pay your dues. However, you must pay them. Mm-hmm. Because for every person, it's different. For me, it was free labor. Because I had no other option.
Yeah.
Who's going to hire me? I had no experience. How could I demand a paycheck for something I didn't know how to do? People would laugh me out of their office.
Well, sometimes you just fall into it because I know
I wasn't that fortunate.
I had a certain, for example, I was on deployment and I went to YouTube University and I was like, I'm going to start this photography business. Yeah. And I bought a camera that I didn't touch until I got back. And then, I volunteered for a big event and,
did they pay you for it?
I tell you what, I offered to do it for free.
Exactly.
Right? I offered to do it for free, but you know what happened was they ended up hiring me.
Love it.
So, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, well, let me go ahead because they said they didn't hire a photographer, but yet the person knew me and was like, well, if anyone could do it, Dana could do it, right? So I ended up making sure the business was legit because we were going to have a representation. I wanted to make sure we had a good representation. And the story goes on from there. But I was willing to do it for free. And there's some things that even when we did have our business, we did it for free.
Exactly.
So because we're building it up. And at the same time, you're an amateur, you know.
I always liken it to drug dealer. I'm serious. Once I give you a hit of the product, I know you're going to come back.
Exactly.
So you got to be willing to give away something in order to receive something in return. And I think that a lot of times because we're so afraid of people taking advantage of us, we won't even put ourselves out there, you know, but that would be probably my biggest advice is to don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. Right. Even if you don't have any experience, do it for free.
Because it falls back on those three principles, right? People don't do business with you unless they know, like, and trust you.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So, you know, as you're a business owner, as you become successful, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he preached owning real estate. So what advice would you give regarding owning real estate as a business owner?
Do it. Really, just even if it's a vacant lot. God ain't making no more land. What we got here is what we got. Buy a piece. You know, a lot of times people feel like, well, and I get this, especially in the minority community. If I'm going to buy a house, it's going to be my forever home. If I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to buy the best house. Bitch, you live in a box right now, okay? Calm down.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of times we come out of the gate expecting to buy a mansion right off the grip, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've never owned real estate at all before, period. Sometimes we might actually be the first generation to do so. Not in our family's lifetime, because there was a time when they owned real estate, but maybe since our parents. This is the first time we've ever owned. And I kind of feel like we set ourselves back because we don't allow ourselves, because we're so worried about what other people are going to say or think, but they're not the ones paying your bills.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't concern myself with the thoughts of anybody.
Right.
Because I take care of me.
Yep.
When I go home at night and I'm in my bed, just like they don't worry about me, I'm not worried about them.
Right.
You know, so my biggest thing is I don't care what it is. Get your mobile home. Those things make money. Like, rent is crazy right now. Rent is insane. So do not diminish owning your own. Even if it's a vacant piece of land, a mobile home that's used up, somebody will pay you rent to live in there. You know, it's literally the fastest way to build wealth. If you look at all of the people that are wealthy,
yes,
you will realize that 90% of their wealth comes from the real estate they own. It's crazy.
Yeah. I've heard some crazy stories about like some big franchises.
McDonald's.
I was about to say, you know, some with the big arcs. That, you know, they own actually residential developments.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Disney.
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay.
They own a whole bunch of land.
Okay. They own everything.
Right.
Right. They're not just Disney. They're ESPN. You know, there are all these other pockets of their business. And I think that that's what we have to realize is that, you know, you got to start somewhere.
Yes.
If you can't buy anything else, get you a vacant lot.
Right.
And let that appreciate in value. Had I purchased some vacant land just 2 years ago even, I would have doubled the return on my money. Where are they doing that at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's almost like saying dream, right? Dreams, then you need goals to follow those dreams. Yeah. And then you make them a reality, because as you're seeking to achieve those goals, then they're going to become a reality. Yeah. So dream, make goals, and it becomes a reality. So, you know, that's great, right? But you actually lived in Okinawa, right?
I did.
And based on your bio, you lived in Okinawa. I never knew it. And, you know, I've known you since high school. It's kind of crazy, right? And
a lot of people didn't know.
Right. We have our own network, and we keep in touch with those who are being successful. So I'm privileged to be able to get to know you a little bit more. But Okinawa, Japan.
Yeah.
How was that? And then when did you?
I loved it.
At what age did you live there?
I was 18, I think. I was 18.
Speak Japanese?
Not anymore. Actually, you know, I learned a couple words, but now I forgot them. Because I was like, I'm 40, y'all, just so you know. So that was like, what, 22 years ago?
That's how old you are.
Anyways, we went to school together. Y'all do the math. So, but yeah, like, I was probably about 18. First time I'd ever been away from home. Homesick the whole time. And then I finally got over it and started really enjoying just, it was amazing. I didn't want to come back. After I kind of got over the homesick part, I've never lived in a place so clean. And I now really, really appreciate that experience because, you know, we have this perception that America is the greatest country in the world.
America is great. And
it is great. But guess what? There are other countries that are thriving. Right?
Can't be so closed-minded.
Yeah, like, so we aren't the only great country in the world. So that was really what it was. It was more exposure that, ooh, y'all got running water and electricity.
Nothing like you expected.
And restaurants and nice cars and, you know, skyscraper buildings. Like, you know, it was really like I said, when you grow up in a small area, there was nothing, you couldn't tell me anything about anything. Like, America was it. And then I moved out of the country and I'm like, oh shit, Japan nice too. Like, people come out of their house, sweep off their porch, wash the dirt away.
Yeah.
I've never been in a cleaner place in my whole life. Like, that was like real. Like, America's dirty compared to Japan.
Yeah.
It really is.
I've never been.
Never been. You got to visit.
I'm going.
Yes. So, but hygiene to them is huge. Like, every toilet has a bidet. Yeah. I learned like bathing and the whole bathhouse thing, like, that's a real thing for them. Like, it's real, like, it's serious. So I was like, oh, you know, for them, cleanliness is next to godliness. You know, like, it was really a routine. Everybody would come out of their house, clean off their front patio with a broom, bucket of water. There would never be any trash in the streets. I've never lived in a cleaner place.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So I was like, shoot, they got America looking like a third world country, just so y'all know. But yeah, I lived in Okinawa. It was a wonderful experience. I am so grateful for it because it caused me to want to travel even more. You know, and I don't think I would have gotten that itch had I not experienced that.
That's good, right? Because you're sharing your experience now to a lot of listeners and people who you come in contact with, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, because those expanding your horizons gets your brain outside of the box or what the conventional thinking that you may have around you. So you change your network. I heard, funny, so this is a saying that I always keep with me, and someone said, it may not be verbatim, but if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find another room to be in. So if you're the smartest person in your group of friends, either it's not providing you progress. Yeah. You know, you want to be into a room where you're actually learning from those around them to elevate whatever goals you're going to. So that's a part of your network. Go ahead.
I've heard that your network is your net worth.
Ah,
right.
There you
so
go.
I'm like, yeah, the facts. That's really true. Like, if you want to elevate yourself, you got to be around other people that are doing better than you. And you'd be amazed at when people are doing well, how abundant their mindset is. Yes. They'll literally bring you in and sit you down. Come watch me. I'll show you what I do. And
a plate. So, and I'm a big fan of the local chambers, right? So for any inspiring entrepreneurs, I mean, I'm a advocate of get involved with your community, right? Mm-hmm. Because like, if you want to start finding those individuals, that's a place to start. Just go to your local chamber of commerce. Mm-hmm. Now that goes into corporate social responsibility when you have companies who should be a part of the local communities, right? But how important is it to you to have a presence? Right? And give back to your community.
Huge. So when you're first starting, it's always a struggle to give anybody anything because you don't have anything to give. Or at least that's how it feels, right? But I realized that, you know, your time is so valuable. So people do appreciate when you volunteer and you're willing to do things just for the sake of doing them. You know, and it becomes almost a sense of gratitude where people want to do something kind for you. Yeah. Because they know that your time is an act of kindness. So, like, we actually, in St. Lucie, there is a community organization called UP, just UP.
Okay.
And it's United Against Poverty. And I'd gone to one of their luncheons. They were, giving out awards, and I'm sitting there, and they're giving us their spiel of who they are, what they do. And I never even knew that this organization existed. They pretty much are a grocery store. If you meet certain income requirements, you can literally go in there, buy food for free. They give you this little card.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then they, on top of that, help you learn emotional intelligence. They give you schooling on different jobs. Like, I'm like, where have y'all been? And now I'm at a point where I volunteer with them when I can, but I give them my money all the time. They're like, we're calling to see if you'll donate. Absolutely.
That's good. So you're giving back to the community
all the time
in a way that, you can.
Because I can relate.
Right.
I remember going to, the little food, what do they call them? Because our
where the churches
have them.
Give away food.
The food pantry.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what I was trying to say. So I remember going to the food pantry with my mom.
Yeah.
And going to get groceries from the food pantry, and it being free because the church had a food pantry for the community. And I don't know if that's really died out or not, but this organization, their sole purpose is to provide meals. And having grown up like that, when you see this, I kind of feel like it's love in action.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody willing to put forth the work and the effort. And as a business owner, if all I've got to do is cut a check, take my money.
Yeah.
Because everything that we do has to be for something. Because, after a while, it becomes exhausting, especially if you get to a point of success where you're like, I'm good. I don't really have to work that hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to find something that's bigger than yourself.
And I'm a big believer of don't forget where you come from, because just like you went to the food bank, or is that what you called it?
Food bank or food pantry.
Right, food pantry. Mm-hmm. Well, I've been in lines at, it was called St. Vincent. My mom and I were freaking standing in line to get food.
Yeah.
And I was older at one point, or old enough to feel embarrassed, knowing that this wasn't normal. Right? But at the same time, my mom was doing the best that she could to make sure I had food in my mouth. Yeah. Right. So I think that's where your big heart description comes in, is because you are giving back to those same communities that are trying to help others, to inspire them. Right. And give them a voice. So, and take care of them, right? Their well-being.
Yeah. Because like I said, it's almost, it hurts the pride sometimes, because you feel like I should be doing something for my community. And the woman that runs this organization is a white woman. Mm. How can she feel empathy for me or my people or the struggle that we go through? But her heart bleeds just like mine does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so sometimes when you grow up with a certain mindset, it's kind of like you feel like the whole world's against you, and nobody wants to help, and people just trying to take advantage. Everybody isn't that way. Now that may be your perspective because you're going through that at that moment, but the reality is there are people that want to help. There are people that do more than others, and that's okay. It's also actually really amazing, when you see other people that didn't grow up the way you did, but feel for you enough to do something. Yeah,
and those are some...
Those people are amazing.
Very much so, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared for your blessings when they do come.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, it's a blessing for me to be where I am today, and I'm very much appreciative with the help and collaborations that have, business relationships that have been developed along the process. So what are some of your current projects you're working on?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
So since I'm so good at what I do.
You are. I've heard. See.
So really, I think that, and I actually was just talking to somebody about this, when you're passionate, when you do something with a lot of love, that love just kind of pours through, So with our business, the model that we've set up, we don't count the amount of deals we do. The way we look at it is how many families have we helped? And that in itself is what really drives the business. We want to help as many people as we possibly can get their foot in the door. That's like our number one goal. If we can just help them get their foot in the door, I know that this will build generational wealth. It will start to change the way they see themselves.
Yes.
And so for us, it's so vitally important. Like, we're so passionate about that it drives the business. Mm-hmm. So people are like, oh my God, you're doing so good. But they're looking at the numbers. We're looking at the families. And when you come from that perspective, opportunity shows up. And so at this point right now, I've got two really amazing business opportunities that have presented themselves. Mm-hmm. But one of my key factors when I'm selecting which businesses to go into is the partnerships that come along with it.
Yes. Are
we in alignment? Mm-hmm. Does this person love what I love? Are we headed in the same direction?
Right.
Because if it's just a financial opportunity for them, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually not money driven.
Right.
I'm driven by the outcome of what we do. And for us, it's life changing. Like, I remember the first time my mom finally settled in one place because we were so transient. The work would move, we moved with it. For a long time, I changed elementary schools and middle schools. It wasn't until I got to high school that my parents actually finally settled down. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it started feeling like home. Yeah. And for me, I think that is a big reason why I'm so passionate about homeownership, because I remember what kind of effect it had on me.
Yes. Going
from having to move all the time versus my parents finally settling or my mother finally settling and being in one place. It was like, I remember you from when we were in school and we used to do this and the other.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it not just from the perspective of a parent, but also that of a child. I remember how important it was. Yeah.
Stability makes a huge difference.
Huge.
I moved from place to place, and I never came up with it. I wasn't an excuse type person. Yeah. So my grades weren't good. I mean, I just played ball and I made enough just to get by, right? And go on to the next level.
Yeah.
But it does play a difference as in what type of camaraderie, social, if you become social with your kids in the neighborhood.
I mean,
people do move, right? Yeah. People do move, but how often you move can really hinder it.
Yeah, because you start to withdraw. Like, why am I going to make friends?
I think I'm a little introverted.
Yeah.
So even doing this podcast, I'm, becoming more, if you know me, I'm a little bit more animated and things like that. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, right, because I'm in it too with you, that's what makes us special. Mm-hmm. But I think that for any listeners that are aspiring to do entrepreneurship, and these are the types of listeners that we like, is the fact that if you're going into business, you need to be passionate about.
You got to love what you do.
The business that you're going in, right? Because that's what's going to help you get through the hard times. Because trust me, there are some hard times. Trust me, and have a vision, right? Yeah. And then the other thing is, it's the love and the passion and partnerships. You can't be afraid of partnerships. You can't be greedy and think that like, oh, I'm going to get it on my own. Sometimes partnerships is what you need to get it over the hill, to get it to the top.
So like the second opportunity is with a partner. Mm-hmm. I built this current business that I have
project.
And I'm going to put this by myself. But the reality was I was never alone. Like, when I decided to open up We Save Loans, I already had a partner, right? Stephanie and my niece came along with me, Liz. And so we go into the situation. It's just us, right?
Yeah.
The Charlie's Angel.
There you go.
And so I was like, even when I decided to do this, when I was like, look, I'm finna get out here, open a business, I know you guys have financial responsibilities. If you don't want to come along with me, it's okay. No hard feelings. I still love you guys. And they were like, nah, we're going to rock with you to the end and see what happens.
Yeah.
And they came along, and with their support, with their encouragement, I built the business that we have now. I don't really think I would have been able to do it by myself. You know, a lot of times we don't realize, because people say, well, I'm self-made. I did it on my own. Did you? Really?
Yeah.
I highly doubt that.
Right. You had some help along the way.
Exactly. So you may not have been a partnership per se, you know, where somebody's going in 50-50 with you, but there was always someone there that was partnering with you, knowing that there would be a positive outcome in that leap of faith that you were taking on yourself. They believed in you just as much. Right. So I think that we have to realize that we're always in partnerships all the time.
Yeah.
Now it's up to us to decide whether they're positive or negative ones. Mm-hmm. So partnerships aren't just financial. They're also emotional partnerships.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I started my business with partners. You know, it just happens to be that my name is the only one that's on the door. But without them, I couldn't have made it. And I know that.
And that's appreciation, right?
Yeah.
And that's something to be said.
Yes.
Well, I would love to have you on the show again, right? So, and because we can talk about more subjects, different subjects on
all day,
business and so forth. But where can everyone find you?
Really easy. # We Save Loans. Yeah, just literally We Save Loans. I will pop up all over the place. I'm all over Google, Facebook, Instagram. So sweet. I think I'm on LinkedIn too. I don't check that message, but yeah, we're right there. We're right online. Just Isabel Williams, We Save Loans.
So that's where everyone comes if they are looking to purchase any real estate.
Yeah.
As a business owner,
or just want to talk.
Oh, okay.
Like, to be honest with you, that's literally what it is. Sometimes people just need advice. You know, they don't need to always be coming for the fact that, oh, she's going to do my mortgage. Man, I've encouraged so many people throughout my lifetime because I've been blessed and fortunate to be able to share what I've learned.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you want to give them your phone number?
Call my office. Actually, my direct line is 772-409-0003. And if you don't get me on the phone, shoot me a text. I always respond.
There you go. Isabel Williams. Yes. We Save Loans, the founder. So we thank you for your time, because time is valuable.
Yes.
And we appreciate you sharing it with us.
You're welcome.
And then to our listeners, thank you for your time. Let us know what you think of our show, and stay tuned. There's more to come with our book series and episodes. If you have any questions or would like to continue to be inspired, you can always find us at One Real Story. So if you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, social media, find us One Real Story, right? On Instagram, we are ORL Story, and that's what we are on Twitter. But thanks for your time as well. See you soon.
Bye-bye.